Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the IcyCast with myself, John McKellar, and joining me as usual is the man without a face, but the guy who runs the show.
Hello.
How are you, mate?
Hello, I'm good. Still here, mate. Just here. See when you go, see when you switch off a show and all that, and people aren't watching that. I'm just here. I just sit here, just front of this
right there. That's not entirely untrue, actually.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of your time at that desk. So yeah, how are you doing anyway, Jamie? How's it been the last week?
Okay. It's a week after Christmas, New Year holidays, so you don't really get much done, mate. I'm saying I don't really get much done. I've been fucking answering emails now because you know how other people don't take fucking time off and they expect you to be just there to answer emails.
Yeah.
It's people like Boxing Day, they'll send an email. What can you tell me about this? So you're like, mate, I'm not here. I'm fucking off. I'm in the house trying to take a break. Like fucking you are. So, it's been all right, John. It's just been chilling like a villain, mate.
A brilliant start to 2024 for you then.
Yeah.
What are we here to talk about tonight then, mate? We are going to talk about Franz Beckenbauer's just died apparently. All-time
really?
legend footballer, yeah. World Cup winner. I literally just saw it flash there, breaking news on the side of my computer. World Cup winning captain and manager Franz Beckenbauer dies as football pays tribute. So rest in peace to Franz Beckenbauer, the Kaiser. Yeah, exactly. Jim Kearney comments the Kaiser and also asks, "Evening, can Jamie not afford a camera?" Do you want to explain once again what the issue is with you not being visible on the streams?
It's no the camera. I've tried. Mind we've through this as well with other folk. Tried multiple cameras. It's the PC. The PC just see for some reason whatever nightmare is inside this fucking thing. Because this is the old Icebox PC that we used to design all this stuff. So it's got like tons of software on, tons of music software. It's got fucking pretty much every software you can have on it, but it leads to some complications. One of which is that it seems to like. Every time I put a camera in, the sound is fine on it, but it just this is what I get. This is the screenshot that I get. I can't even change. Let's see this palatial house. I can't change that picture.
Really?
It's actually stuck. That's how you can see a wee shadow on it of me, just a wee bit of me in my shooter or something. That is when I was storing up. In fact, that is my shooter when I'm leaving there doing something. So it's almost as if it's burnt into the fucking computer. Any camera I've tried it, it's just been like, right, here you go. There's Jamie. there's fucking Ghost Jamie and his non-existent house.
Bloody Ghost Jamie. Bastard that he is. But yeah, we are here tonight, and it's worth also pointing out, we are live once again this week, Jamie. We're live for the second week in a row. And tonight is going to be a good one, I think. We're going to delve back into my record collection and we're going to talk about an all-time classic. This one here. The Shape of Punk to Come, a chimerical abomination in 12 bursts by Refused, or it's also just known as The Shape of Punk to Come. But that's going to be the topic of discussion tonight, man. You've had a few listens, I imagine. I've listened to it a few times in the last few days as well in preparation. But before we get into that, as usual, let's talk about sort of other various issues and shit that's going on.
Issues like, oh well, I've got this pain,
an issue. Oh yeah, you had a pregnancy cramp.
Aye, it's my legs fucked, mate. Everything's fucked. See when you get a certain age, just everything starts to go. That's it. Yeah. So I mean, I doubt it's pregnancy. That's just beer fat. That's what that is. That matter now. But I'm just fucking getting older, mate. That's what it is. You'll get there soon, John. Very soon.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So yeah, anyway, we're here to talk about The Shape of Punk to Come, which a good buddy of mine and a baseball teammate of mine called Chris Kelly, he called it literally a 10 out of 10 perfect album. Even though I hate hearing New Noise for the 30,000th time, recently re-listened to the album and in context of the flow of the full album, it's still amazing and sounded as fresh as the first time. And he added that our mutual friend and a former teammate, our Saeed Dickey, is a recent convert. And he says, hope you all touch upon the Refused Are Fucking Dead documentary too. We will, Chris. We will. we'll talk about that a wee bit at the end. Saeed agreed completely and said it's so fucking good. So they're setting pretty high expectations for anybody watching or listening that's never heard the record.
It's a high bar.
We'll get into that in a bit. Yeah, absolutely. Before we do though, you just announced another new horror project, Jamie. Is Bloodbath Burlesque. Let's talk a wee bit about Bloodbath Burlesque, and I'll let you kind of introduce it properly. Where did this idea come from?
Well,
what kind of shape is it going to take?
Similar, Murderpalooza. It was, so we'd done a couple of shows of Murderpalooza. It went really well. It was an idea that then we kind of threw together last minute of creating a kind of semi-horror burlesque show, because we liked horror, we liked burlesque, we liked cabaret, so we like just fucking cram it all together. It went better than expected. I enjoyed it. It was really fun. We played videos. Like, we'd actually recorded like kind of wee horror almost shorts, but it was a running storyline. We played each one for 3 minutes as if somebody had took out the icebox and was trying to kill the performers in it, and he was playing the video, like kind of in all the wee breaks between performers. We had all the cast were basically the staff that were working that night who kept disappearing and stuff. Well, everybody was just sitting watching the show. It was just a really good kind of immersive experience. The people that were there enjoyed it, even though I knew we could do like a lot better. And that's where this one's coming from. It's a lot more planning, and we already made the mistakes in that first one, so at least I can look at stuff that didn't work, look at stuff that really would work. So it's an immersive slasher film, horror film experience set in while people are watching a cabaret show. It's also horror themed, by the way. You might as well just go fucking right for it. Just throw everything at the wall. That was one of the main projects I wanted to do this year anyway. So we can get a couple of them done. I'm fed up putting on fucking boring gigs, mate. It's not even the band's not as boring as it is. It's really hard to put on a fucking music gig and make it successful now. It's hard to get people excited. It's hard to do all this stuff. It's hard to just advertise it. It's quite a flooded market now. So I wanted to do something really different. And it's something that I kind of enjoy and love as well. I think you've got to be a bit more niche, a bit more crazy to get seen, to get your fucking head above a parapet nowadays. So that's where we are with Bloodbath Burlesque. It'll be good. Be good fun. We're aiming for about April and May with that one. It depends on probably about the shooting, but at the same time, if I get a venue for May, I'll just book it for May. Quite happy with that, and we'll get maybe two of them this year, and no day too much in 1 year of it. If it's really successful, both of them will have double shows anyway, 2 nights a piece. If it's really successful, you can start fucking branch it off for next year. But I just want to kind of ease into everything this year, get everything nailed, get everything done properly, and then I see where it takes us. It'll be good fun, though. I mean, look forward to it.
Yeah, quite the horror kick you're on recently. Do you have a venue and like a headliner in mind at all for the first one? Have you got a vague idea what you want to do with it?
No, like there's a few venues that we're looking at, but it's trying to get, you want a perfect venue, and it has to be, can't just be a gig venue. It has to be good for the burlesque cabaret stuff. It has to be seating as well, which kind of narrows it down quite a bit. Obviously, when you make everything seating, certainly for this type of cabaret burlesque thing, it cuts the capacity right down. So it has to be a bigger place anyway. I mean, I'd love to get somewhere like, obviously, St. Luke's, and that would be really good for it. They've got the facilities that are fucking good for it. They've got a nice back area. They've got a huge kind of space. They certainly get a lot of seating that can be used as well. At the same time, it just kind of, a lot of that comes into cost as well. Bigger places, the bigger the venue, the more fucking price it is to book.
Yeah.
And it's also hard to try and get a good date for it. Certainly, we need 2 dates in a row. But that's a case of watch your space. I will want the venue in place for that within the next, say, 2 to 3 weeks, so that's done, and then that kind of nails the time for it in May. So
you mentioned filming in there a bit ago. How will the preparation and the organisation of Bloodbath Burlesque, how is that going to affect the film? Do you expect this to cause delays to the film at all?
Nah, I don't think this will. I think if there's any delays with the film, it will be solely down to the actual stuff that's involved in the filming of the film itself. It'll be delays of budget. It'll be delays with just general shooting delays. I mean, this is the first time we've done anything this big, so there definitely will be delays. I've been telling everybody that we've been kind of contacting for, whether it's cast or talk about crew. Most of the actual crew folk that I was talking to told me that before I told them. They were like, well, you know, this will never happen. It never happens to your timelines that you're wanting to do it. It's always delayed a bit. So I'm fully expecting that. I don't think this will interfere with it, though, because we're obviously cutting down on a lot of the shit that hasn't worked before in the past.
Yeah.
Certainly with the kind of like the Icebox working that. So taking the time for that stuff out here frees up a lot of time anyway. I don't see myself working massively more than I did before for fucking very little before anyway. So
that is very true, in fairness. That's fine. That's quite exciting then. Plenty of projects going on. Bloodbath Burlesque. It's Murderpalooza, I know, was an idea that you were quite excited about back at the time. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you're able to flesh this out with a wee bit more time to plan it.
That's it.
And a bit more resources, hopefully, as well.
The plan was to have a couple of Murderpaloozas a year. So if we'd have kept the venue open, we would have kept that going. So, and that would have been kind of what this has become anyway. So there'd be a lot of stuff like we would have somewhere to film and all as well if we had the same fucking venue spot. So this is just all this stuff has just led to different ways of working, different practices what we're doing. So all it does is have to make us work a wee bit harder for it. That's it. So I think it'll be good fun. Honestly, I think folk are really going to enjoy it. I think it's something different as well that's hitting Glasgow. Because again, fuck going to the same things over and over again. This to be something a bit special. And I like to bring that to the table.
For sure, man. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different prospects and projects to get excited about for the Icebox this year. Obviously, the film and the Bloodbath Burlesque being two of the key ones. Let's move on for that for now. I know that you're going to be doing your video diaries coming up quite soon. So I'll look forward to seeing them and also doing some of the Q&As. We'll start to weave a wee bit of the Bloodbath Burlesque into the Q&As as well, and we'll sort of dovetail and talk about both at the same time when we're doing the sessions. Let's move on to the album that we're doing this week, Refused, The Shape of Punk to Come. 1998, came out on 27th of October 1998 on Burning Heart Records. It's from the Swedish band Refused. They are, so historically they were kind of like first couple albums are sort of more in the vein of like Suicidal Tendencies, like skater punk or hardcore punk, like traditional hardcore punk. Around the mid-90s when they did their album Songs to Fan the Flames of Discontent, I think that they had sort of grown a bit jaded of the kind of crowd that associated them with, and they started to play more. It was like a fusion of hardcore punk with other different styles. There was more metal influence. There was like this record especially has like jazz and techno references and stuff like that. It's like it's kind of mad. For sure, yeah. And then they brought this out in 1998, their masterpiece, The Shape of Punk to Come, and then 6 months later they broke up because nobody cared. When this was first released, when this was first released, nobody really cared. Nobody bought it. Only sold a couple of thousand copies in its first year, but then gradually it got a name for itself in the hardcore punk scene. And when it was kind of rediscovered, it blew up. But by that point, the band had broken up because I think they just got sick and tired of the kind of people that were going to their shows. They got sick and tired of each other. And I think that the band were a bit bitter at the lead vocalist and lyricist, Dennis Lixon, because he was very much wanted to be a kind of firebrand revolutionary, and they just wanted to play cool music. There's one of the kind of Rage Against the Machine-esque moments where it was like, fucking enough about your political views. We just want to jam, and he was like fucking burn down the system kind of deal. But yeah, they left us with this absolute masterpiece. Let's talk about the track listing. First track is Worms of the Senses, Faculties of the Skull. Track 2 is Liberation Frequency. Then you've got The Deadly Rhythm, Summer Holidays versus Punk Routine. 5 is an instrumental called Brutus Poem, number 5. Number 6 is the classic New Noise, probably the most famous song, by far the most famous song. 7 is the Refused Party Program. Then you've got Protest Song 68, Refused Are Fucking Dead, the eponymous track, The Shape of Punk to Come. Number 11 is Tannhauser Derivé. And the last track is a bit of a weird one to close the album out on, if I may say so myself. The Apollo Program was a hoax. Jamie,
Yes.
first impressions.
Yeah, I liked it. I loved it. It was a really good album. Different from what I thought. I'm no a massive fan of a lot of hardcore stuff and that, but this album's got a lot of very different sounds in it. Like there's one. I think it's the 5th song, which is, let's see, Brutus Poem, that sounds like fucking Massive Attack. It comes on, it starts like Massive. It's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like that, and you're like, how the fuck is that almost in the middle of this album? That's actually one of my favourite picks of the album, is that wee fucking just that wee bit. It's only a minute 27 seconds. And it's just fucking, it's class. It's really good. It's really good almost for a break for the rest of it. I know a couple of the tracks kind of feel that way as well. They feel like they're always bringing up the hardcore side of things. It's pretty unique. It's a pretty unique album. I want to say it's 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'm not going to give them my number.
Okay.
But it is close. I preferred this to the last one that we covered. So,
what was the last one?
Guided by Voices one.
Oh, wait, fuck yourself then.
And I like the Guided by Voices one, but it's just because it really is because of like two or three standard songs on it. And it's the songs that everybody would think, if you're listening to it for the hardcore side of things, it's probably their least favourite ones on it that are my favourite ones on it. But I think it just works so well within the album. I really enjoyed it. I did.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the previous records that they had brought out, their first album was This Just Might Be the Truth. Their second record was Fanning the Flames of Discontent. For Songs to Fan the Flames, was that I think Songs to Fan the Flames was their second record, and then their third was The Shape of Punk to Come. And like the first record, like I say, kind of straightforward hardcore punk, kind of skater-esque. So kind of puts me in mind of some of Suicidal Tendencies stuff. The second record is a bit more heavy, and Dennis Lyxzén switches for like a kind of standard punk singing to like screaming. And then this record both feels like such a violent departure from the previous record, but also weirdly at the same time a perfect progression from it. It's just such a strange record, man. And like even like when you look at the name of the album, it's named after a 1959 jazz record called The Shape of Jazz to Come. Which is just crazy.
Just look at the cover. The cover looks like an old jazz. That's what it doesn't look like, fucking a punk cover. But then again, what does look like a fucking punk cover unless it's the actual band on the cover of it. But I can see that when it's based on. I want to pick that record up and go, oh, that looks like hardcore punk. So,
there's I think there's a story behind the artwork as well. Let me see if I can find. There's what was the? It imitates the cover of Teenage Dance Session by Rye Coalition, which itself was a reference to the cover of Teenage Dance Session by Dan Terry in 1954.
Taking the piss out of something else?
Pretty much, yeah. There's like a whole bunch of mad references like that. The opening of Deadly Rhythm features layered samples of the opening drums and closing saxophone riff from a live performance of the same song by Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. The Deadly Rhythm features a musical quotation from Bo Diddley. The break in New Noise samples Colonel Cutsy's famous monologue from the 1979 Vietnam War film Apocalypse Now, etc., etc. Ornette Coleman was the name of the jazz album. The jazz artist that made the record, The Shape of Jazz to Come.
Right.
Just reading that off of Wikipedia there. It was really well reviewed. 4.5 stars. All Music, the AV Club gave it an A. Consequence of Sound gave it 5 stars. Pitchfork even gave it a high rating, 8.7 out of 10 in 1998. They revised it to a 9.4 out of 10 in 2010.
Of course they did, because it became a bit popular, the fucking selling.
Of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Its lead single, of course. Its lead single, of course, was New Noise, and that's a pretty popular song, quite an influential song. It's like there's so many people started bands based off of hearing that song on like music TV or whatever.
Well, that is the one that you were right. That's the one that I recognised once I played it. You know, is New Noise the only one that's actually got a music video on it as well?
I'm not sure. I know that was.
It seems to be the only music video for this album I could find on fucking YouTube.
I remember watching an interview with Dennis Lyxzén, and it might have actually been from the documentary, which we'll touch on a wee bit later.
Right. There's live videos. There is live videos for a few, but there's no actual.
He says that they had originally wanted, I think it was Liberation Frequency, to be the lead single. And then the guy who filmed the video said, no, you need to do New Noise. Like, New Noise is the one to do a video for and release as a single because that's a great tune. And I think it probably turned out to be the right call based on how influential it's been. Interestingly, I was watching a whole bunch of stuff getting ready for this show, and apparently New Noise has been in like a bunch of movies and also video games, including Tony Hawk, but the band had absolutely zero say in that. The publisher just kind of sold the rights to the song, because Dennis Lyxzén is known for being quite a militantly left-wing guy and anti-capitalist, and then he would get like a lot of grief for folk going like, oh, you say you're anti-capitalist but you've sold out and it's in fucking commercials and movies and that, and he's like, I didn't sell it, I didn't have any say in it.
That'll be with his hands, probably. That'll be
it goes to show. Yeah, it goes to show just how exploitative the record industry is, even for
unless you're a giant of the industry, like unless you're like some fucking Elton John or something like that, I don't think you've got much control what gets sold and what doesn't at that point. I think if you sign up I know that new bands signing up for new record labels now, record deals, the actual contract itself is restrictive as fuck in what you can do and what you can't do, and it takes a lot of the power out of the band's hands now as well. I've seen like kind of recent contracts even for smaller labels, and they're disgustingly one-sided now, and it's because every year that they do, they learn by it, and they learn to tighten stuff up and just take more control. Like you're saying, it's just to make more money off the band, but the band are just a fucking commodity essentially. They will sell you everything that you've made right out from underneath you. It's no yours anymore, which is fucking crazy. Think about.
Yeah, this is why we should all be shopping on Bandcamp, and bands should be putting out their own music, because it's just so much fairer. But yeah, so Shape of Punk to Come drops in October 1998. 6 months later, Refused are on tour in the United States, and they decide to break up mid-tour. They played their last ever show in a basement somewhere in Harrisonburg, Virginia, right? They got 2 songs into their last show, and they started their song from Songs to Fan the Flames of Discontent, called Rather Be Dead. Right. And midway through that song, the cops came in and broke up the show. Now, the song Rather Be Dead has a refrain of Rather Be Alive. Because basically it's like, rather be dead than be alive by your decision, I think. Rather be dead than be alive by your oppression, something along those lines. I can't quite remember the exact words. And then I'd rather be alive. And then so the crowd all started chanting Rather Be Alive at the cops while they were kicking this band off stage. And midway through, it was their last show in the middle of nowhere in the United States.
That's weird.
It's just such a mental way for a band that would later become so influential and so vital to punk rock to just end.
You know what? It's
For a long-
it's almost scripted.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Aye. And then it seemed like that was it, but then they came back. They released 2 records since they reformed. I think they reformed back in 2012, I think, for Coachella.
Right.
And they've released an album called Freedom from 2015, which, granted, I haven't really sat down and listened to Freedom properly, but they released a record called War Music back in 2019. War Music is fucking awesome. I
Right.
actually prefer War Music front to back to
Oh.
this record that we're
Right,
talking
okay.
about tonight. I think War Music is their most. It's their most consistent. Their most. It's their most. I think it's the record that I would point to that I would say like that encapsulates the philosophy of Refused,
Right.
and the music is just so. It's like the maturation, you know what I mean? It's like the actualization of their maturation as musicians.
Does it have the same?
It's
Does it
just
have the same mix of sounds on it? The same kind of. It's
It's-
almost experimental that this one does.
yeah. It's not quite as here and there as the Shape of Punk to Come.
Right.
It's also no traditional hardcore though. I would say that if anything, it's maybe got maybe a metal influence or
All
infusion
right.
through it.
Okay.
War Music. It's funny because like they released War Music in 2019, and then right after that, they recorded a bunch of songs for Cyberpunk 2077, the computer game, which is
Right.
where I found them. Really, that was how I got right into them. I had heard New Noise years ago, but I didn't really get right into them until I heard Samurai, and then looked up Refused, and I was like, "Fuck, that's them." And now I've become quite into them. So the songs that they played as Samurai, which is Johnny Silverhand's band in the Cyberpunk universe,
Aye.
they sound like outtakes for War Music basically, and it's kind of, I think it's known as Chrome Rock in the Cyberpunk universe.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of more metal infused.
Cool. I need to
So
check
yeah,
that out.
Refused. They came back. I don't know what they're doing now. They haven't released anything since 2019. Beyond the couple of tunes for the Cyberpunk game, but hopefully they're not gone for good this time, because I think they're fucking awesome. Let's touch on the Refused Are Fucking Dead documentary. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch that.
No. I didn't even know it was it. So.
So it basically chronicles their breakup and goes into a wee bit of why they broke up. I would recommend it to anybody. It's not very long. I think it's only about half an hour long. It's one of the most.
YouTube then probably.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah.
So the entire thing's on YouTube with English subtitles because it's mostly in Swedish.
Oh.
It's one of the most. It's one of the most like naked and frank documentaries that I've ever seen about a band. You see these guys who were so like at a loss, you know,
Yeah.
like they were like we don't really want to do this anymore, but what else are we going to do? Like it was like, you know, and it was like, watch the documentary is basically what I'm saying. It's fantastic, and it documents the last night. It documents that last show and the breakup of the last show, and it goes into a wee bit of. So 2 of the members, I think it's Dennis and David?
Don't sound very Swedish to me, mate.
I think that Dennis and David from the band grew up together very closely.
Right.
Like Dennis like practically lived with David. And so they were so close. They were like best friends, almost like brothers. But then they broke up.
Yeah.
And it goes into a lot of what that did to them as friends. It's good, really great documentary, and I recommend it to anybody. Jim Kearney has left a comment. Check out this album, Last Splash by the Breeders.
Aye. I'm about to say, John's just going to walk into screaming that. It's it'll be Name Monster though. Name Monster by R.E.M.
You mean this?
Yep.
I'll talk about Last Splash.
Cracking album.
Last Splash is a 1993 record by Dayton, Ohio quartet The Breeders. Features the Deal Sisters, of course, Kim for the Pixies.
Yep.
Josephine Wiggs on bass, and Jim McPherson, formerly of Guided by Voices, on drums. This track list is New Year, Cannonball. I mean, everybody's heard Cannonball. Invisible Man, No Aloha, Roy, Do You Love Me Now? A beautiful song. Flipside, I Just Want to Get Along, sung by Kelly, I think. Mad Lucas, Divine Hammer, SOS, Hag, Saints, and Driving on 9. Finishes up with a Roy reprise. I always thought that was a Strawberry years ago, but it's not.
It's a heart.
It's a love heart. It's a love heart with what looks like blood on it. I always thought it was a Strawberry for years.
Until you go, well,
brilliant record.
You go the bigger one.
Yeah, brilliant record. We'll touch on that. We'll definitely.
Cannibals up there, my favourite songs, actually.
Yeah, phenomenal. I saw them live in 2008. I saw the Breeders and Black Francis solo in 2008, and then I saw the Pixies in 2009. That was a good run.
Yeah.
We'll dive into the Breeders' Last Splash in depth at some point, because it is one of the best albums that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
We talked to the documentary a wee bit. What's your favourite song on the Shape of Punk to Come, Jamie?
Well, I'm going to discount like New Noise is fantastic, but I'm going to discount that because it's one I already know.
Right.
Like I wouldn't get as like if I didn't know that, you could listen to that and go, "That's fucking amazing," and that'll be up there. I'm actually torn. I've got down Deadly Rhythm. Love that. Fantastic song. I've also got down the one I was talking about, the starts off almost like Massive Attack one, Brutus Poem. And then a wee surprise, the last one, the Apollo program one, which I think is a fucking fantastic. It's the oddness of it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's a strange song, but I kind of love that. I think this is one of the albums though that I could listen to again and I'd pick up something else that I prefer to them. But it probably points me not being a huge fan of your kind of stronger hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
But that's my favourite tunes off it. And they're also my favourite tunes off it because they fit in with the album so well, as in it's like crazy in front and crazy behind, if you know what I mean. So it's like I would definitely be up. This album for me, I'd be up there 8.5 out of 10. I'd get definitely.
Well,
I mean, I could pitchfork it and go up to 9 after a good few listens. You know what I mean? I wait to see how popular it becomes again, and then I might add a wee bit to it. But
we should call backtracking on something you've said getting pitchforked.
Definitely. Depends on how popular you say it becomes, basically.
Aye. Well, my favourite song on the record shouldn't come as any surprise because I too have a bone to pick with capitalism. Worms of the Senses, Faculties of the Skull, the opener, is my favourite track on the record. I also fucking love Protest Song 68.
Protest Song 68 that was another one I've got that written down in my bit of paper. It was between that and like Brutus Poem for like win. I think they're riot songs, they're fucking fighting songs, they ones. And they seem to do really well at what they are. You know what I mean? The album, weirdly, it feels like it's been out of time to me. See that way you listen to an album back to front a couple of times and you're like, this feels like late 90s, early 2000s. It just has that fucking total feel here. This was definitely the same for me. Yeah. And yet when you pick out the other songs, certainly the ones that I had for the favourites, they're so different that it kind of pulls it out of that.
Yeah. I think it's one of the great records, and so many great records are like this, and Nevermind's another one that comes to mind. It both sounds of its time, but also sort of
totally
but also re-energized and totally redefined the time that it was in.
Yeah.
It's same as Nevermind. Nevermind sounds like 1991. But it revolutionized what mainstream music was.
Back in 1991. So much. Aye. So back in 1991, it was out of time. It didn't seem like it fitted in, but now that's early 90s. Yeah.
But because of its influence on everything that came after it, it became
absolutely
like it basically assimilated everything that people thought 1991 sounded like until that point.
Do you think a lot of bands were influenced by Refused after this album came out as well?
Like multitudes of bands and artists have cited not only Refused but this record as one of the reasons, if not the reason, that they started a hardcore punk band. And it's not even just hardcore punk. Paramore quote the lyrics to Liberation Frequency in one of their songs.
Right.
There's like so many bands across so many genres that cite this as either an influence or a favorite.
Yeah.
Even like I think Duff McKagan for Guns N' Roses and Kirk Hammett both sang this album's praises as well. So yeah, it's amazing, but it's also very, very highly regarded and quite rightly. Jim has another comment here. I was going to say something, but never mind. Never heard that one before.
Kick him off, mate. Get me fucked.
I can't. Yeah, you don't bite the horn that feeds. Go subscribe to your Patreon. It's patreon.com/iceboxglasgow if you want to help us out and get exclusive content, especially coming up as we get further and further into the production of this movie.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's
movies are fucking expensive, mate. We need all the moolah we can get.
Yeah. I'll give, by the way, in the same place as Chris Kelly when it comes to a rating. It's 10 out of 10 for me.
Are you going for full 10 then, aye?
Yeah, aye. It's not their only 10 out of 10 record for me. Like I said, War Music, I think, is even better.
Right, okay.
And people can agree or disagree. That's up to them. But I remember Chris and I talking about Refused in the car on our way to Electric Six back in November. And he made the point that, like, Refused are such a rare band. Like, they came back and it was almost a kind of like, oh, fuck's sake, why have you done that? There's no way this can actually either be the same or better. And yet somehow they've managed to be better than ever. It's rare that happens, but I think he's completely right when he says
really
that.
They're quiet because they're working away on something new then. So maybe another album.
Who knows? You know, they've only released 5 records. 3 of them prior to breaking up in 1998, and 2 since they got back together in the last decade. So if they bring out more music, great. If they don't, they've left behind a really great discography. So hopefully they can. Yeah, hopefully we'll see them again though, because they're a band I've never had the chance to see live, which I would quite like to remedy that, because I think their live shows would be fucking incredible. I've watched a lot of video of them at Primavera and places like that, and it was superb.
I've seen a couple of live videos as well when I was watching them. There's weirdly one, the shooting of it, see the way it's actually shot, the camera work and that. I always think some cunts get a camera for the fucking 1950s or 60s or something. Like, the camera is terrible, the one that's been shot for. And just the way some of the folk are dressed up now, it's again, it seems out of time. Doesn't seem right. But then they start playing one of the songs after. In fact, what one was it they started playing? I think it was Protest Song 68 or the one before it. I think it was I'm pretty sure the Protest Song 68 was actually mentioned in the title of the video that was on. And it's just ending alive. They have a wee chat with each other, no really to the crowd. They're chatting with each other on stage. And then they just get fucking right into it. But it just seems like a dead for the sort of type of song that's just about to kick off. Everyone just seems really calm and cool, and just it's a weird video. I would suggest anybody just goes and looks through all the live stuff on YouTube. I'm doing a bit of rabbit hole stuff, which is I might have actually seen the documentary on there advertised and just thought it was another live video or something. And certainly if it's only a half an hour one. I mean, I just thought it was a gig getting recorded or something. So, I definitely advise that. Go online, look up the live stuff, check out this album first, and I think I'm going to go after this and maybe check out the last album just to see what
definitely. Definitely stream War Music. War Music's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The first track on it, Revolution 1, sets an amazing tone, and then you get Violent Reaction, which again is just. There isn't a single track on that record, and I think it's shorter.
Because this was quite a long record for like a hardcore.
It's got.
That's a boy here half an hour, 55 minutes.
I guess that is quite a long record for a hardcore punk record. War Music, I'm pretty sure that's only got 10 songs on it, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
It is. It's 10 songs. Revolution 1. Violent Reactions, brilliant. I Want to Watch the World Burn, superb. Blood Red. If there's a weak song on it, it might be Blood Red, in my opinion. But then it's sandwiched between I Want to Watch the World Burn and my favourite song on the album, Malfire. So it might just be unfortunate in where it's placed on the record.
Yeah.
Turn the Cross is a good tune. Damage 3 is good. Death in Vanas is good. The Infamous Left is good. And Economy of Death is one of the best closing tracks that I've ever fucking heard.
Right.
So definitely get it.
All the song titles just sound like rants I've heard of yours. So
yeah, so it's quite it's quite interesting that I never. It's mad how I never actually got into them before I did. I think if I was into Refused back then, I would my life might have taken a slightly different path.
Yeah,
I would have been even more revolutionary left wing, and probably I'd be like an eco-terrorist or some shit.
Yep. Oh, it's been flagged up. Nice one, Jonas. It's flagged up somewhere now.
I mean, eco-terrorist is a fucking batshit term. Only in a world like this could we have the term eco-terrorist. Those crazy evil people that want the world to be left alone.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris Kelly's joined us. Totally missed the start, but Summer Holidays versus Punk Routine is immense. I love the chorus. I love the chorus for that. Rather be forgotten than remembered for giving in. Such good shit. And he agrees that War Music's immense. He says, I was so gutted when Refused came back after the Pure Punk way they split up, but their new tunes are so good it made it worthwhile. I literally told the story, Chris, a bit ago. I don't know if you joined us yet, but I told the story of you and I chatting in the car on the way to Electric Six about that very thing. We should have got Chris to join us for this episode, because he probably would have had a lot to say about this record, but he can now go back and watch it for the start, because we're going to close things up here. I gave it a 10. You gave it what, an 8.5? Did you say
8.5, mate? Aye, 8.5.
Right. So well, I don't do this decimal bullshit. So that's a 9. So that's a 10 and a 9. That's pretty good.
Right. You know what? Because I did say I could stretch to a 9. So I won't stretch to any this time, mate. You bullied me into you fuck. So
8.5 is scandalous according to Christopher Kelly. So I think you've pissed him off there, Jamie, because
9 is then, fuck's sake.
round it up to 10, he says. I agree, Chris. I give it a 10. Where can people find us, Jamie? If you go to Facebook, it's at Icebox Glasgow or at IcyCast Pod for the podcast. If you go to Twitch, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever the fuck, or Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. Am I missing one? YouTube.
You look like you had a wee seizure there. You're just fucking sitting there staring.
If you go, I'm just associating. It's one of the days. If you go to Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter, it's at Icebox Glasgow. It'll be coming along the screen here in my ticker here in a wee minute. Visit Facebook, and it's at Fright or Flight Promotions for the latest on Soundbooth, and of course Bloodbath Burlesque as well. If you want to help us out financially, that would be great. And it's only £3 a month if you sign up to our Patreon account. It's patreon.com/iceboxglasgow. You'll get some exclusive shit. Previously, you got the podcast early, but because we've been doing it live these last 2 weeks, we haven't really been able to offer that.
We're going we'll start to get movie stuff on the Patreon soon as well. Once I start doing the weekly thing,
probably
I'll get that up.
Yeah. So there's tweaks coming, but there's also new content coming to Patreon. So there's never been a better time to sign up to the Patreon than this, Jamie.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's money.
10 out of 10
He's
on
money.
that. 10 at 9.5.
10 out of 10, mate. Yeah. If we get 10 more Patreons by the end of the week, Jamie will round his review up to a 10.
I might.
for the
I
Sheep.com.
fucking might. I can't
right.
be bought. I can't be bought off.
Oh yeah, he's pretty fucking cheap, man.
I'm all pretty cheap. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Well, what we doing next? We're doing letter C next week for names of games.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're not. We're doing
No,
B.
it's after that. And we've not done
Next
B.
week's the letter B. Yeah. So we're doing the letter B next week. The following week's going to be interesting because we're going to do the Ballad of Jamie and John.
Yeah.
We're going to go all the way back to autumn of 2011 when we first met, and we're just going to tell the story of how we met, the nature of our relationship, how it's changed and how it's grown over the years, what it's been like working together all this time. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a chance for us to look introspectively at ourselves and at each other and to figure things out, and stuff like that. I don't know. After that,
I sounded a bit creepy there. All I'm going to say is that I remember fuck all.
After that, yeah, moving swiftly on. Yeah, moving swiftly on. We're going to do the letter C for names of games on the 29th of January. And then on February 5th, which is my brother Connor's birthday, he'll be 28 that day, we're going to talk about Incesticide by Nirvana.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that one. It's been a while since I listened to it back to front. So
yeah. And then it'll be the letter D for names of games, and every 2 weeks and so on throughout 2024. We'll be doing a names of games episode.
Cool.
Because conveniently there are 26 letters in the alphabet. And then we'll do a miscellaneous one for the start of 2025.
Yeah.
But that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us live, those of you who did. If you're watching this on demand, don't forget to like us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, everywhere. Sign up to our Patreon. It's only £3 a month. Give us money. We need it. And I wouldn't say we like it, but we like people liking us enough to.
I mean, I like it, John. I quite like it.
I don't. You know my thoughts on. You know my thoughts on the monetary system and capitalism.
I know.
That's. It's why I've been on medication for half my adulthood.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so very much, and good night.
Right. See you later. Bye.